The Secrets of Star Trek is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Star Trek, episode 77.
Captain to bridge.
Spock here.
Make it so. Surrender is not an option.
Attention crew of the Enterprise, this is James Kirk.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon, what's beyond our own shores.
We would have helped you get home if you had asked. That's who Starfleet is.
Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Star Trek, where we discuss the hidden layers and deeper meanings found in all the Star Trek TV series, movies, and more. And today we're discussing the Andorian incident, an episode from this Enterprise series. And joining me today on the panel are Jimmy Aiken. Hi, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
And Father Corey Stika. Hi, Father Corey.
How's it going?
Very well. Folks, if you have not done so yet, please be sure to subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, on Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcast app, or at the SQPN YouTube channel, where you should make sure to hit the bell to get notifications when there's a new episode. I do want to let you know about a new show that's on the network, or should I say a returning show, the return of The Secrets of Star Wars, with the launch of Disney Plus and The Mandalorian, which has been awesome. We were just talking about that at length before we started recording this episode. And with the coming of Rise of Skywalker and so much Star Wars, we said now is the time to relaunch The Secrets of Star Wars on StarQuest. If you have never heard it before, it's a lot like what we do here. And we have a whole new panel of new people to talk about it, led by Father Andrew Kinstetter, who is known online as Father Fett. So you should definitely check that out. It's at sqpn.com/Star Wars. We have a couple episodes out already, and so it'll be really quick for you to catch up on what's going on. And plus, we have the historical the episodes that go into the past, which Father Roderick Von Hogan and I did when we did a few years ago with Force Awakens and some other stuff with Rogue One and Last Jedi and that sort of thing. But the new episodes are coming out now, so definitely check that out. sqpn.com/Star Wars. All right, but today we're talking about here Star Trek. And this is an episode that aired in that first season of Enterprise, October 2001. And it's the 6th episode of that season. And it introduces us to the origin of a very important Federation species, the Andorians.
Who we almost never get to see.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
I was trying to remember, do we see him at all in the TNG era series?
We see an image of one when Data's daughter Lal is picking body forms. One of them
Right.
she considers is an Andorian.
Right,
But
right.
Other than that, we don't see him as actual characters within the stories. I didn't think so.
No, which is, unfortunate given how important they're supposed to be to the founding of the Federation. They're one of the original 5
Yeah,
species?
four races. 5 planets, 4 races, something like that.
Yeah. So, interesting aspect to this story is originally the Andorians were supposed to be the Gorn, the big lizard creatures that Kirk
Really?
battles. Yeah, they were going to make them the bad guys until someone realized that the Gorn don't talk.
that was the first thing that occurred to me. I mean, how are you going to get a Gorn saying, "What's it to you, pink skin"?
Exactly.
It's going to come out as...
Although, at one point, you could have someone, say to one of the Gorn, "clever girl," or something, a Jurassic Park reference. So I think good choice. Go with it, because the Gorn were already bad guys. Whereas here, the Andorians are, in the Next Generation era, in the original series era, they are our friends. We're allies. But here, as we begin, they're not quite. In fact, there's all kinds of suspicion among the Federation founding species. Yeah.
I mean, this was the first contact between humans and Andorians. So,
Right.
not a very good first contact experience.
Although, in the end, it works
In the
out okay,
end,
right?
Yeah.
But I do want a couple other notes about the show, behind the scenes. This was the first time directing by Roxanne Dawson, who played B'Elanna Torres on Voyager,
Oh, okay.
who who would go on to direct 10 more episodes, or 10 total episodes of Enterprise.
Did she? Is it her first time directing on Enterprise? Because I thought she started directing on Voyager.
I'm sorry, first time directing
did.
Enterprise. Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I thought later seasons of Voyager, she started directing.
Yep. And in fact, she has gone on post of Star Trek to direct lots of other things, just like a lot of the other Star Trek actors, like Riker, Jonathan Frakes, and and others. Yeah.
It's interesting. I was listening to a history of Star Trek, of the newer stuff, and Jonathan Frakes was the first one of the actors to start directing, and he really got, I forget which showrunner it was that he was working with, but he expressed an interest in it, and the guy said, okay, I want you to jump through all these hoops if you're going to do this. I want you to basically go to director school.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
While you're also doing your other stuff. And so he had to, learn the entire directing process and stuff. And then from there, other actors started getting interested in doing it. And so other TNG actors started to do directing. And then in Voyager, they started to do directing. But there was a selection process. They just didn't let anybody direct.
Right.
And the showrunner didn't name any names, but he indicated that there were certain actors he was totally not interested in having direct because they didn't meet certain basic professionalism requirements. And that was one of the foundational things. You need to be on time. You need to know your lines. You need to show you can manage your time if you want to take on this additional stuff. And apparently some actors didn't meet those requirements. And so I started mentally ticking through who didn't direct.
Yeah, because like LeVar Burton was one who directed. In Voyager, Robert Duncan McNeil is one who directs.
Yep.
In fact, he goes on to a career in directing, post-acting, which is a big career in that. Yeah.
I think, frankly, Harry Kim was one of the ones that he wasn't interested in letting direct.
Well, he was pretty young as a
very
actor,
young,
so that's understandable.
Yeah, Garrett Wang. Yeah, that's interesting. Although of course Leonard Nimoy directed a Star Trek movie, but that was after he'd already done 3 Men and a Baby, and
right,
he'd had some chops there. But yeah. So speaking of people who do a lot of different things, we have another actor coming back from Deep Space Nine, playing yet another alien. I mean, this guy plays them all. Jeffrey Combs, who is Brunt and Wayun in DS9, and a third character, which I don't remember, but another one.
A minor one.
Makeup, yeah. And he was on Voyager in the Sunkatse episode. You'll know the Sunkatse episode when I tell you that was the one with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeffrey Combs is just great. He brings every part to life. I mean, what a reanimator that guy is.
He's so
incredible.
good. So,
I think I slipped one past y'all. Neither one of you reacted to the reanimator joke.
Right.
Some in the audience will know that.
Yes. So the story is that Enterprise visits a Vulcan monastery only to find that it's in the midst of being taken over by a group of Andorians. And so what happens and what goes on there? That's really the big story. One of the things that has been established that gets challenged a lot in the series is that Vulcans don't lie. Well, this is the episode which puts the lie to the Vulcans don't lie a statement, because obviously they do, as we find out here.
And they did as soon as they told us they didn't.
Right.
Exactly.
No, I don't think anybody ever even believed them that they don't lie, because,
Yeah. As soon as Vulcans don't lie, I exaggerated. You lied.
You lied, yep.
Yeah.
But this was a huge deal. They got tons of hate over
this one?
from because the Vulcans are lying in this. In a oral history of Star Trek that I was listening to, they were talking about how they came in over the weekend and their voicemail was just full of, had maxed out with messages about Vulcans don't lie. People were just raging against this.
Well, and I know we've talked about it before, is one of the risks they took with Enterprise, which kind of did blow up in their face a little bit, was making the Vulcans kind of sort of bad guys. Not totally, evil, but just not good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's one. Yeah, that was a very key aspect of Enterprise's personality, was kind of making us take a step back from the Vulcans and look at, maybe there are ways that we need to that they aren't the perfect people, species that we have thought them to be.
I understand that dramatically you want to create room for growth for the relationship between the two species, but the problem is when you already have beloved characters or a beloved race, it makes it hard to say, let's tell the story of how we became friends.
Right.
And let's have them be jerks, since we have to be sympathetic to the humans. So it's kind of like, I understand what you're going for in writing artistic terms, but that doesn't mean it's going to create an enjoyable experience. There are certain movies where you just don't kill the dog.
Right. Right. So I do want to go back to that, what you said, Jimmy, about how their voicemail was filled with criticism. And there was a lot of criticism at first. But this was one of those stories that ages well, in the sense that it eventually became one of the fans' favorite episodes of Enterprise. It's one of my favorites. I really enjoyed this.
I'll say this is probably one of my favorites. It's probably one of the better episodes, if not the best episode of season 1. That's for sure.
Yes.
As long as you add season 1, yeah.
Yes. And
like I said, season 1.
Yeah, right. Season 1s of the Star Trek have been very difficult. Let's just put it that way. So, in fact, it was rated number 2 fan favorite in an online poll. So take that for what you will. And so that was interesting to hear. Although the season 3, I think it was one from season 3 that was the favorite. I forget which one it was. So let's talk about this. So they're going to this Vulcan monastery, and I'm wondering, are Vulcan monasteries more like Catholic monasteries or Buddhist monasteries?
Those look very Buddhist.
Yes, I felt like that. So in fact, the architecture looked very much. In fact, it looked like it was up in the mountains, like Nepal or Tibet, that sort of thing.
Though there are Christian monasteries built right on mountaintops.
That's right.
In fact, some of them you have to climb a cliff face to get to.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah, Mount Athos is on a mountaintop, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I
just want to know more about Vulcan religion.
Yes.
Come on. We've had allusions to Vulcan gods, so are they still worshiping them, or tell me about them?
Yeah, is it more like Buddhism, which is more a philosophy, or is it more like
that depends on
religion?
which Buddhism you're talking about. If you're talking Theravada Buddhism, it's more like a philosophy, but if you're talking Mahayana Buddhism, it's totally we got gods coming out the everything.
I'm glad you edited yourself.
A god for you, and a god for you, and a god for you. Yeah.
Everybody, it's Oprah. Everybody gets gods.
Well, in this as what little you see of it in this particular episode, I felt like it's very much the philosophical Buddhist type, where it's all about controlling the emotion and meditation and.
Right.
And that's what they do at this place. This place is called Pajem, and they practice the Kolinar emotion purging thing there.
Yeah.
And it's 3,000 years old, and I'm so glad it's 3,000 years old, because I'm sick of everything in imaginative literature being 2,000 years old. It's come on, I know Jesus was born 2,000 years ago, and that is extremely important, but that doesn't mean everything significant happened exactly 2,000 years ago.
This raises a question for me that I have in my notes, which is, the temple's almost 3,000 years old. It's not on Vulcan, which means that the Vulcans have been warp capable for appreciably more than 3,000 years.
And look at what they did with it. They're not interested in conquest. They just says, let's make some place to meditate and spy on our neighbors.
Well, they're not interested. Yeah, they're not interested in conquest. And they're not really interested in exploring either. That's the thing. That's one thing they've talked about before in the series.
Right. It's kind of an interesting idea that they've been warp capable for ages, but the humans, we kind of catch up pretty quickly, technologically at least, but in other ways too. By the way, Andorian antenna in this, are they CG or are they practical effects?
They're practical effects.
Practical.
But I like
really good. I like that they move now, because they didn't in the original series. They were just frozen, but I like the moving antenna.
Now according to the Memory Alpha, only 3 of the 4 were movable. One of them wasn't, but he was kind of like the fourth guy you only see like once or twice throughout the entire
Okay.
thing.
He had a disability in his.
I think he's the one that got clobbered when they broke down that.
Through the wall. Yeah.
Through the wall.
So what we have is that Archer. So we start out with this teaser of a group of armed Andorians breaking into a Vulcan monastery. We don't know anything more beyond that. And then we after the credits we have Trip and Archer talking about whether they should be using Vulcan star charts and how accurate they are. Again, Vulcans have been out there for 3,000 years, and their star charts aren't very accurate. I don't know what they're doing out there, but they're not. They must not be keeping a good track of things.
Because they find that, hey, we passed a protostar last week that's not on this Vulcan star chart, and I took that as the Vulcans are obscuring information about the part of space they're in because they've got a secret listing post here.
Okay, that's a
Fair
valid interpretation. Yep. But they notice that there's this Pajem, and I gather it's not near Vulcan because they don't say that they're at Vulcan. Well, but it must be because Vulcan and Andor are neighboring systems, and it's monitoring Andor.
Right. So this is all. I mean, we're all within a few dozen light years of Earth here.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little tricky because a couple episodes ago they were way out beyond as further than anybody had gone. You remember they were that colony that the turtle people.
Yeah. Well, as Einstein proved, space is elastic. So
right, and they've rubber banded back across. So so as you said, Pajem is a place of Kolinar and quiet contemplation, and Archer wants to go, which to me seems like an imposition. I mean, they want to be, the bunch of emotional humans show up, and
there is a spiritual tourism aspect to this.
Right.
Yes.
And T'Pol, does say you'd be unwelcome there. Oh, we're gonna go anyway. Like, okay, it seems a little rude, but okay.
If you've ever been to a holy site like in the Holy Land or in Italy, there's as many people who go there just to see the place than there is to actually go there and pray. So
yes, probably
understandable.
More. Right. So then we have the scene of T'Pol and Phlox having dinner, which is this very awkward scene. T'Pol tells Phlox that being seen by other Vulcans with a human crew would be awkward for her, which is interesting. But Phlox reaching over and taking celery off of T'Pol's plate before asking is also kind of awkward. And I was wondering whether Phlox was doing that sort of as a lesson in awkwardness or just Phlox being Phlox.
I had the same wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a combination of both.
Yeah. Right. It's interesting to see, Phlox and T'Pol are so very different, yet because they're the only two aliens on Enterprise, they're sort of thrown in together a lot. It's sort of and I think my guess is probably more than a guess, is that Phlox's design as a character was supposed to be as opposite from T'Pol as you can
Oh
get.
yeah. Oh yeah. If we have the cool, distant, reserved alien, we need the enthusiastic, open to experience alien.
Yeah, a lot of people who had a criticism for Phlox early on that he was just another Neelix, which was a difficulty for the actor to
way better than Neelix. He is not emotionally challenged, adolescent, juvenile, jealous guy that Neelix was.
He's just overly exuberant way too many times.
We're going to delve into this thing you have about Neelix later on in the Voyager episode, but we'll talk about that later. So then we have this scene where Archer feels awkward because they haven't been able to get the monks on the phone first, and when they show up, which I'm like, well, you should have thought of that before you diverted and showed up there, but you're there. So they come to the temple, and T'Pol gives them all kinds of instructions ahead of time of proper behavior and the way to do things.
And Trip has this remark like, I thought Starfleet training was hard. And it's, dude, this is just basic. You should be glad there aren't more rules.
Right. This was like,
be quiet, don't speak unless you're spoken to, do this little thing with the rock. And
basic etiquette. I mean, it's not hard. So they get there, and just like T'Pol had said that maybe this would happen, it's a time of Kolinar, and therefore no outsiders. And Archer's, a little disappointed, but then T'Pol notices something is wrong, that their things are broken and displaced, and
yeah, I noticed that way quicker than T'Pol did.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they noticed the door was broken open. But so Archer kind of vamps with the Elder, which was kind of a funny scene, as he's kind of like gabbing along, and you can tell the Elder's like, oh, humans. and until he notices a hiding Andorian, and they tackle him, but then the other Andorians come out of hiding and take them prisoner. And that's when Jeffrey Combs' character, Shran, interrogates them, and he accuses the Enterprise of being a supply ship bringing surveillance equipment. And this is where he comes up with the that racial slur that he calls Archer pink skin, which is fair.
Which is fair. I totally don't mind that. I think it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
You know, because in our culture, I mean, when you're dealing with someone who is visibly different than you are, it's natural to, note the things that are different.
Right.
And so, of course, an alien who is blue is going to note that many humans, at least the ones he's meeting, are pink.
Yes.
And use that as a reference to them. So, it doesn't, I find it amusing.
If it was, the roles were reversed at a different time, I could see a human calling him, a blue guy or something,
Yeah.
Blue Man Group. call the Andorians Blue Man Group would be funny.
And his response should be, "I'm not a man."
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious what would happen if Merriweather and Hoshi had come down with them. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Then the joke wouldn't have worked.
Exactly.
Do Andorians come in other colors?
Yes, they do.
They do. Okay, I'm trying to remember that. So anyway, it's established that Vulcan and Andor are in neighboring systems, and T'Pol says the Andorians resent this Vulcan superior reasoning and technology. And I'm thinking, it couldn't possibly be your condescending attitude.
Yeah, exactly.
I resented on their behalf. So
there's a later line in this episode where T'Pol is schooling Archer, and she's saying, "We don't believe in responding to violence with violence." And in my notes, I extended her quote with, "We believe in responding with scorn and condescension."
Exactly.
Right. A raised eyebrow in response. So here we have the elder, like the Archer and T'Pol and Trip are thrown into this room that's being used as a cell with the elder and the other Vulcans, and the elder flat out lies about not being spies or having technology beyond what they see. It's a flat out untruth right there. And then the Vulcans blame the Enterprise for.
He's just exaggerating.
It's just exaggeration. The Vulcans blame the Enterprise for amplifying the Andorians' suspicions. "You've endangered us all," and you could have added like jerks, which is like an unspoken "you jerks."
And the reason he says that is because the Andorians have been here twice before, and they've always left within 24 hours when they didn't find anything. But now that Enterprise has shown up, they think it's a resupply ship, and that's what's increased their suspicion. So they're not going to just leave within 24 hours.
Right. Now, for the first time, Reed has been left in charge on board. He's the senior officer back on board Enterprise. And we have this, he's getting worried. And it comes up, he says he thinks it should be standard procedure to scan for ships as you arrive at a planet and for away teams to check in every 10 minutes, which is actually what standard procedure is in the original series and Next Gen and Deep Space Nine. In fact, so it's Malcolm Reed who comes up with these procedures for security for a future, which I like that because I like Reed.
Because of course it is.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yep.
Well, Enterprise is out there first. They're establishing things.
It's not like we wouldn't have thought of these things now-ish.
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
But I like Reed, and I think his caution is not followed often enough by the others.
He's definitely a counterbalance to kind of the exuberance of Captain Archer, where he wants to see everything and check everything out and get out there and do it, and I forget the consequences. Let's go.
At least he's not the security guy who wants to shoot everything and use violence at the first opportunity, like Worf or other stereotypical people.
Or the Marine who shows up later on in later series, later seasons of this. Yeah. I like this little bit of this moment where Hoshi says, "Oh, they're probably just in some kind of meditation ritual," and cut to Shran beating the heck out of Archer
Very
while
meditative.
he's interrogating him.
By the way, there's something that really had not remembered this, but there's one of the Andorians who's like a pervert.
Oh yeah, he creeps on
because as soon as he meets T'Pol, he's like, "I'll enjoy having you as a prisoner."
Yeah.
And the pause is deliberately in there. And I thought,
Oh, yeah.
okay, are there, that seems like a pretty strong hint. And then it gets even more clear later in the episode where he comes up to her and is like, I've heard about your Vulcan mating rituals. I hear you actually have men kill each other. Would you like me to kill someone for you? And then Archer speaks. Would you like me to kill him for you? It's like, okay, creepy perv guy. Don't know if I want you in this story.
Yeah, that was really kind of creepy and a weird addition to it, but different time.
Not
I guess.
normally what we get on Star Trek.
Yes.
Well, okay, wait a minute.
Until
Except
recently.
in a Gene Roddenberry episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're forgetting Gene Roddenberry did this several times, actually, in the original series in TNG. But yes, so back in the Enterprise, Reed is trying to contact the captain. Shran picks up the communicator and issues his threats. And don't come down in your shuttle. We're monitoring you. And then so Reed says, okay, let's get the shuttle prepped. And Merriweather's like, but he said not to go down. And he's like, I don't take orders from a comm voice ensign, not unless it belongs to the captain. Like Reed's like, forget that guy. I'm doing what needs to be done.
And Shran smashes all the communicators. It's like, there's a powerful alien ship in orbit and you're smashing all of the means of communicating with it? Really?
Right, because he doesn't know about transporters, so he can't be thinking that the communicators could be used for transport lock-on, right? And it's a basic principle of hostage negotiation to keep the lines of communication open, or you escalate things. He would expect things to escalate from there if he does that. So yeah, that is very strange. So there is a scene where the Elder and T'Pol are kind of talking about her having to be on the Enterprise, and the smell must be intolerable because Vulcans do not like the way humans smell. She says that she uses a nose spray that deadens. Yeah,
nasal analgesic, I think, something like that. It's a nasal deadener.
Yeah,
so
agent,
kills her sense of smell, but she has to take it every 24 hours.
And it's starting to wear off.
Yeah. And so this made me think, so since Spock is half human, he must not smell right. Maybe that's part of why he was so unpopular as a child. He didn't smell like all the other Vulcan boys.
That's a very interesting question. Yeah. And Vulcans must have an advanced sense of smell like everything else they have, I suppose. But
especially Vulcan females, which is also true of human females. They have better senses of smell than human males, typically.
That's right. Archer knows Malcolm Reed very well, and so he knows he needs to act before Reed sends an armed landing party down. And then the Elder...
It's like, okay, but actually that would be a good thing.
Yeah, right. But the Elder suddenly remembers that, we do have an old transmitter down in the basement. Oh, I thought you didn't have any technology. Well, it's in the catacombs, which are hidden and which they say contain the most sacred relics, and which happens to have an entrance in this very room that we're being held prisoner in.
A secret entrance.
The secret entrance, that's right. And Tucker says, for people without emotions, you people sure have a flair for the dramatic, which is a good line. I like that. So Tucker and a young Vulcan go down into the catacombs and pass by a bunch of mummified bodies of dead monks, which we see.
Including one of the founders of the Order. It's like, that's a great master founder there you're looking at.
Right. And then we have this dramatic moment of a surprise bed check in the middle of the night when the Andorians come in, but Trip and the other Vulcan are already back, even though they did find the transmitter and he got it working and was able to talk with Enterprise.
Tell them not to come down immediately.
Yep.
By the way, there's also, and we didn't mention this, but when you come in the main entrance into the monastery, there's a giant face on the wall, like from the Underwater Menace on Doctor Who. It's like, clearly a big face, and it has eyes and a mouth that are practical to the extent that they are holes.
Right.
So there's something on the other side of this face. And in the sequence where Trip and the Vulcan guy go down into the catacombs, we clearly see the other side of this face.
Right.
So the catacombs entrance leads to the back of this face.
Right. I don't want to go too far with this because it concerns with how the resolution of this episode.
Right. Yeah.
So I do want to bring that up in the context of that. But yes, that's
wanted to mention we've got this face here.
Yes. The face is important. It's the face of Bo statue on the wall. So, or what's that famous one in Rome where you stick your hand in, and if you tell a lie,
oh yeah,
the mouth
that
of truth,
one.
the
I
Boca
forget
de
what
Veritas,
the name of
or
that.
something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and so the thing you do there is you put your hand in and you say, "I will not be able to pull my hand out," and it creates a logical paradox, and the universe ends.
That's right. And Rome collapses around you. Oh, what have you done? So anyway, Archer has this idea to beam a landing party into their room for the element of surprise, but T'Pol rejects it. A firefight in close quarters with a dozen monks? That's her objection. I'm thinking, well, first you open up the door to the catacombs and you send the dozen monks into it. Then you beam the armed landing party in, and you're laying in wait for the Andorians.
And furthermore, you beam and actually I like this, that they're thinking this through, that it does take time for the transporter to work, and it does make noise.
Right.
Yep.
So apparently the transporter sounds we've been hearing all these years are diegetic. They are not non-diegetic sounds.
Right.
So she says the noise of the transporter would alert the Andorians, and they would start firing before the materialization process was complete. So, okay, beam them into the catacombs.
Right.
Blocks the noise, and they can't shoot them.
Right.
Yep.
Or block the door so that they can't get in right away while the transporter finishes. Yeah. There's ways around it. Anyway. Archer offers to snuggle with T'Pol under his blanket for warmth, of course. It has no other ulterior motives. But she hasn't taken her...
As we find out in A Night in Sickbay.
Right. Turns out that she says being cold is preferable to the smell of humans. Again, she obviously gets over this in later seasons. She says that any casualties that occur here, whether Andorian or Vulcan, will make the tensions worse between those two worlds. And I'm thinking, Vulcans are logical. Won't they see that escalation won't make things better? Why would it make it worse on Vulcan? Vulcans will say, oh, it's not logical to escalate over this incident. We should just, try to calm things down, right? I would think Vulcans are logical, but maybe they're not. She said, this is where she says we don't believe in responding to violence with violence, and Archer says, I admire your ethics, but right now a little violence might help. And T'Pol's saying, you're beginning to sound like an Andorian. Okay. Vulcan ships don't have weapons.
Human, so yeah.
Right.
And that's supposed to dissuade me how?
Right. So she literally...
I'm dealing with Andorians,
Right. So then she literally gives Archer the cold shoulder by turning away from him when he questions her loyalty. She turns away.
Where Archer starts, he starts getting a little upset, and all the Vulcans are watching. He looks, problem?
yeah. Like they're all paying attention to their little argument, and he's like, what are you looking at? So here's where Archer comes up with his elaborate plan to get into the atrium.
His over-elaborate plan.
Yeah, right. Oh, yes.
So his plan is to go in to get them to take him into the atrium, the entranceway, and get beat up so he can toss something through the holes in the giant face so that they can determine that, oh, yes, this is actually accessible from the catacombs. I'm thinking, wouldn't it have been less painful just to go back into the catacombs and look out through the holes?
I know, exactly. Yes, this is ridiculous. He gets a beating for nothing. I do like how he promises info and to get him out there, but, for an interrogation, and then he just starts babbling.
Right.
That's kind of fun, but
yes.
There is no reason for this, for him to put a little tiny statue through the mouth of the face and then let them retrieve the statue from the other side to prove it's safe. Just go look out.
Yeah, exactly. Just climb up the little staircase and look. Yeah. I did have a comment where it says Pajem must have some sort of arachnid species because there are cobwebs everywhere in the catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
So the cobwebs
Parallel
come from
evolution. That makes sense.
So then they have this scene where Malcolm and his security team are going to beam down. The security crewman who doesn't like the transporter is played by the actor Jamie McShane, who is one of these character actors who's been in everything. But most recently, if you watch SEAL Team, he's the new captain in charge of the SEAL Team on that. So I love to make these connections. I like seeing actors when they were young and were nameless background characters.
One thing I do like, at least these early episodes of Enterprise, is the fact that the transporter is treated with such concern and worry and fear, because it's such an antidote to the Next Generation episode or season or series where they're beaming everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
I think I would have gone even farther with the transporter thing. I would have had people refusing to use it, period.
Right.
Yeah.
And like have it be, this is unproven technology. You have a constitutional right not to use this. You
Right,
can legitimately refuse an order to use this.
I would love to have someone like say, no, this is a murder machine. It will kill me.
Yeah.
Even if
I
it
refuse.
reconstructs somebody else at the other end. Yes, our philosophical opposition to it. So the Andorians detect the energy surge, but they don't know what it is, and they run to the room they're holding the prisoners in. But Reed and the others get into the tunnel just in time, which is good.
By the way, I one aspect, even though I'm about to undercut this, I like one aspect of what's happening in this part of the episode in that they have not told us what the plan is. So we are having to deduce what the plan is from watching the characters' actions. We have visual storytelling occurring. It's like watching an episode of Mission Impossible where you don't know what the plan is. You have to figure it out as you go from what you see the people doing on screen.
Right.
I like that.
Yes.
But part of what they do is they blow up the face in order to bust out and jump out and start stunning Andorians. And I'm like, why do you need to blow up the face? Why not just shoot the Andorians through the eye and mouth holes?
Right. Well, I suppose the Andorians could move out of the holes are small. So if they could just move out of the visual range, and then you're
Yeah,
stuck.
then you blow the face.
Nonsense.
You blow the face. You hit a couple of them, they move out of range, you blow the face, you hit the rest of them.
Yeah, see, the other thing that the face does for you is it prevents them from easily being able to shoot back.
Well, this is true.
So you want the cover the face provides while you shoot from them behind cover.
Because, in fact, one of the security guys gets hit twice, but he's still able to cover them, they shoot back. Which I'm thinking those Andorian guns must not be very powerful. Whatever they're
set on
shooting.
a low setting.
Yeah. So I thought it was an interesting choice to not have the Andorians kill one of the Enterprise crew here. That had to have been a deliberate choice because then it makes at the resolution less distance that they have to cover emotionally and morally. Because, hey, you killed one of my guys.
They just wouldn't wave a hand at it anyways and just kind of, well, it happened. Who cares?
Right. That's perhaps.
Also, though, if they're going to do that, they should have set up the idea that the Andorians have some kind of restraint.
Yes.
Which they have not.
That's true. So, meanwhile, Archer and the others, including T'Pol, chase the Andorians into the catacombs, and then the young Vulcan monk tags along with an Andorian gun, and gets all antsy about Archer chasing them into this deeper section of the
called
catacombs.
the reliquary.
The reliquary.
And the older Vulcan who's in charge, the head monk whose ears are a markedly different color than his skin for some reason.
Right.
So a little makeup error there. But he challenges the young Vulcan because, of course, we Vulcans don't believe in fighting violence with violence. And obviously you should be using scorn and condescension instead of picking up the Andorian phaser.
Yes.
And but the young Vulcan says we must protect what is ours. And that line has a double meaning. It has the obvious meaning of we need to protect our sacred stuff.
Right.
But it also means something else we'll find out.
Yes. So it was established earlier, wasn't it, that the reliquary had not been, no one had gone into it for years, the young Vulcan said.
Right, right. Hence cobwebs.
Right. But then when they run into the reliquary, the Andorians and then the Starfleet folks after them.
And immediately proceed to have a firefight in the reliquary.
Not only that, there are lit candles in the reliquary. These are like the longest lived candles ever.
Those are actually holographic candles. They're not real candles.
Yeah.
They're illuminating sacred or something.
Thank you for that explanation, that little headcanon there.
It's called sarcasm.
But yeah, they start blasting like the relics, these priceless relics from our history. It will cause irreparable damage, cultural damage to Vulcans. Well, oops. And meanwhile, this incompetent Vulcan monk is the one who actually ends up revealing the existence of the spy
big metal
station
door
yes.
behind a tapestry.
And in fact, it's a complete Vulcan spy station. I mean, place is huge that they stumble into, and I love the fact that the door opens, the humans, the Andorians all come in, And the Vulcans who are inside don't seem to be all that concerned about being discovered. They're just going about their business, still
They
doing
just
their
don't
thing.
really notice, yeah.
I think it's because they're CGI.
Yeah, well, that's why. Yes.
So let's think about this situation. You're down in the reliquary. You've got all this stuff around you. There's a tapestry on the wall. The tapestry gets pulled aside, revealing a big metal door.
Yeah.
If you're Captain Archer, why is your first impulse to ignore the firefight happening around you and open the big metal door? How do you know that's not leading to just another closet in the reliquary? And I mean, you're from Enterprise. You have big metal doors around you all the time.
I think the fact that the door looks brand new and out of place technologically.
Well, maybe, but who knows? And in dude, gun battle happening now. Kind of want to focus on that.
Because you have to have the cool scene where he's dashing over to the other side of the door to hit the button really quickly and then getting out of cover.
So now let's think about that from the other point of view, the Vulcan point of view about the big metal door. Here you are in a Vulcan place, and you've got a secret listening station that is very important that you don't let the Andorians know about. So you've buried it really deeply. You've taken that as a security precaution. You've masked the signals it's generating. And you don't put a lock on the big metal door? Really?
Yeah, I mean, he just has to push the button and it opens.
It's like no lock code, no Vulcan biosignature scan, no nothing. I'm not even a simple lock.
Yeah, no precautions. It just opens right up. So Archer, he calls the Andorians in. Hey, you better take a look at this. Archer is visibly angry, makes T'Pol make recordings with her tricorder, and then gives them to Shran because his people should have proof of the Vulcans violating their treaty. And the whole thing is that what it's supposed to do, this whole episode, is supposed to turn the fans' expectations on their heads. We assume the Vulcans would have been honorable, and that the Andorians were only misunderstanding and were suspicious, and Vulcans are good. But it turns out, nope, Vulcans were actually violating the treaty and doing something nefarious, and the Andorians were right here. And it creates a situation where the Andorians are in the debt of the humans, and
Shran says it, we are in your debt.
Yes. And
so this is a first step to making the Federation with Andorians in it.
Right. And the interesting, I think because Archer, who not that long ago was being beaten to a pulp by Shran, was the bigger man, went with principle rather than holding a grudge, and creates this foundation for a future cooperation between species.
Mm-hmm.
Which interesting. And, I like that idea that they kind of establish this. They turn expectations on our head, and then they establish this relationship, this nascent relationship, here in this one scene. So I thought that was pretty good.
I like what they're trying to do. I don't like the execution all that much, because they come busting in here. By the way, young puppy Vulcan with the Andorian blaster, he wants to kill Archer now, and Archer just sucker punches him.
Yeah,
right.
But the real thing that I noticed here is Shran, as soon as the spy station is revealed, and it's a huge spy station, it's enormous. Oh, yeah. As soon as it's revealed, Shran should be shouting in outrage and triumph about, see these sneaky Vulcan people, I told you so, I told you so. He should be shouting that at the top of his lungs, but he just stands there silently because he apparently has no lines for most of the scene. And that lets the humans do all the talking to get us to the, here's the data crystal, now we're in your debt.
Right.
Point.
Right. That's a good point. Yes, we have this moment where T'Pol is sort of silenced and she's ashamed. You could see that in her demeanor. But you're right.
She's not ashamed. It's just awkward.
Yes.
Chagrined
might be a better word. Not but she's certainly chagrined. You're right. I think there should have been more. In fact, it may have been due to we're running out of time and we've got to wrap things up aspect of things. But there should have been this moment where Shran is outraged, and the Andorians should have been given that agency of we're taking
even
this.
Just one line like, I can't believe it. After all this time, we were right. I can't believe this.
Right.
Just one line like that.
That's true. All right. So that's all for my notes on this. So, Father Corey, do you have any additional
Nothing here.
thoughts on this? Jimmy, how about you?
I appreciated what it wanted to do, but I think it got there in a big plot hole filled way.
Yeah. Again, I enjoy this. I enjoyed the Andorians. I enjoyed those aspects of it. But you're right. There are these big plot holes and the weird contrivances of the plot. But in general, I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, and things get better in future episodes with Enterprise. That's for sure.
They do.
All right. So I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who made it possible for us to create the Secrets of Star Trek, including Bradley J., Cynthia A., Melanie Q., Dana C., and George H. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Star Trek and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And we'd also like to thank Victor Lambs, who edits the show every week for us. We are very grateful for his volunteer capacity of lending us his audio editing skills. So that's it from us. What do you think of the Andorian incident, this Enterprise episode? You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/trek or our Facebook page at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or you can send us an email to trek@sqpn.com. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the Star Trek Discovery episode, Choose Your Pain. Until then, Father Corey Stika, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Star Trek.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you, Dom.
And Jimmy Aiken, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom, and live long and prosper.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Star Trek on StarQuest. And remember, don't get your antennas in a twist. Although I did, like, if anyone has suggestions, I'm all ears. No offense.